30 seconds, Mayor, 30 seconds.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor. We are live.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our City Council meeting. Today is Monday, November 16th, 2020. It's approximately 1 p.m. Before we have our Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to ask if you please rise for a brief moment of silence as we reflect back on the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces as they protect our interests around the globe, as well as the courageous men and women of Las Cruces Police Department and Las Cruces Fire Department as they keep our city safe 24/7, 365. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we're going to have our head of the week, and Jennifer Martinez from our communications office has a couple of pets.
Okay, let me find them on my computer. Are you able to see the screen?
Not yet.
How about now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I am Jennifer Martinez with the city's communications office, and today I would like to introduce you to Time and Rocco. Time would describe himself as a strong, lovable, but energetic type. Most people would say she is a goofball and will have you smiling all day. She is social, so if you take her for a walk, hang on tight, and she would love to meet her new family today. Let's see. This is Rocco. Rocco is sure to bring some oomph to your family dynamic. If you're interested in a fur friend who is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, she loves. This one loves to cuddle and snuggle. And if you are interested, look no further because he is adoptable today. Right now, adoptions, you can go to the ASCMV website, ascmv.org/adoptions. The adoption cost is $25. You will look for their animal number and call to make an appointment. The number is 3820018. As for it has been a long time, few months. Offsite adoption events are still canceled until further notice. Today, a reminder about being a responsible pet owner. Select a pet that is suited to your home and lifestyle. Keep only the type and number of pets for which you can provide appropriate food, water, shelter, healthcare, and companionship. And always remember to commit to the relationship for the life of your pets. Testing surge. As usual, we like to, at the communications office, bring you a little bit of information about COVID-19. And today, again, as in last week, we brought you testing information. So the Department of Health has gotten some assistance from the federal government to do a surge to test that began on November 5th. And right now you can register through Saturday, November 21st. I did check last evening. There were dates open all the way from Monday of this week to Friday of this week. They added on Saturday, but when I checked again just before our meeting right now, they only had today available and Saturday available. So these time slots are filling up very quickly. If you're interested in getting tested, you will go to NMSU, you'll go to their campus, but first you do need to sign up. And that is where this Do I Need a COVID-19 Test comes in handy. You will need to register there first. And again, they go from 3 to 7 p.m. on those days. Again, last I checked, it was today and on Saturday were the time slots that were available left open. If you can't get in there, you can also get tested. You can go to our website, covid19lascruces.com, and you can go along the blue part on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll see where to get tested. I've highlighted it in red so you can see there. And there's a bunch of different testing locations that you can go to daily. So make sure you go check which sites are available. And then again, if you're going to the health department's testing sites, you do need to sign up in advance. Thank you, Mayor. Have a great afternoon.
Okay, thank you. You too. And now we're going to have Darlene Lopez with introducing the jobs of the week.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. All right, so our jobs of the week. We have a fire inspector, investigator, City of Las Cruces, one position, and that's open until 11/30/20. Outpatient transporter, admissions RN, and PRN positions at Mesilla Valley Hospital. There's one position each, and those close on 12/13/20. General laborer with Acme Mills Company, Southwest. There's one position, and that closes 12/4/20. We have a physical therapist at Tresco Inc., one position, that closes 12/20/20. And we have a spray foam insulation helper, one position, closes 12/20/20. And for a full list of jobs, internships, and volunteer opportunities, you can visit employnm.com and governmentjobs.com/careers. And if you have any questions and would like to reach somebody at our local office, you can call 575-524-6250. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Darlene. So as many of you know, Veterans Day just passed, November 11th. So for all those who are watching and were in attendance, thank you for your service. Thank you to your families for their service, sacrifice. I know it's tough as military families. Anyways, we have a proclamation here that I'd like to read regarding Veterans and Military Families Month. So it says, whereas our nation was founded on the belief that all citizens are guaranteed the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas our nation's military service members have preserved the security and freedom that allows us to flourish as a nation. And whereas our military personnel make personal sacrifices to preserve and protect our freedom and country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And whereas having fulfilled their service to our country, 154,172 military veterans currently live in the state of New Mexico. And whereas since 1996, the month of November has been recognized as National Veterans and Military Families Month in recognition of the sacrificed veterans, active duty personnel, and the families make while a service member is serving our country. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Las Cruces, do hereby proclaim this month of November 2020 as Veterans and Military Families Month throughout the state of New Mexico, and attested to by Christine Rivera, our city clerk, and signed by myself, Ken Miyagishima. So there's a proclamation. And I've got one more. This is SGI President Daisaku Ikeda. Whereas Dr. Daisaku Ikeda is a world-renowned educator, author, scholar, and most importantly, peace builder. And whereas he has dedicated his life to constructing bridges of understanding between people of different nations and cultures, and between diverse philosophical and faith traditions. And whereas Dr. Daisaku Ikeda has been a firm advocate for the dialogue as the basis for resolving conflicts and building peace. And whereas Dr. Ikeda is the founding president of the Soku Gakki International, or SGI, and Soka education schools around the world as means to promote public education, issues focusing on peace and disarmament, human rights, and sustainable dialogue. And whereas SGI has over 13 million members in nearly 200 nations and will be commemorating the 90th anniversary of the Soka Gakki on November 18, 2020. And whereas the City of Las Cruces, New Mexico is proud of its diversity as well as tolerance and inclusivity, Las Cruces respects people from all cultural backgrounds. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and city council of the City of Las Cruces, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, November 18th, 2020, as SGI President Daisaku Ikeda Day, and attested to by our city clerk, Christine Rivera, and signed by myself, Ken Miyagishima. Okay. Beyond that, now I have a conflict of interest statement that I'm going to ask if any member of the city council, city manager, or member of the city staff has any known conflict of interest on any item on the agenda.
None for me, Mayor.
None.
None.
Okay, it's good to hear from you. I didn't hear a peep from you. I was wondering if you guys were here listening to me. Okay, good.
I heard you,
Okay,
and
good.
I have none.
All right, good. Thank you, Counselor. Okay, now we're going to go to public participation, which I don't believe I have received any emails. So, well, I guess I did. I got one. It just said security, really, and on the parks, and that was it. That was really all I had.
Mayor, sorry, if I may.
Yes, Counselor.
There was one about the AXON active transportation plan and the coordinator. It was sent to all of us this morning.
Okay, if you have it, you'd like to read it. I don't have it, or I didn't pull it off. Yeah, why don't I read the closed meeting statement, and then if you want to
Okay.
find it, okay?
You got it.
Okay, so the Las Cruces City Council met in closed session at 12:05 p.m., November 9th, 2020. The following members were in attendance: Councilors Flores, Sorg, Beta Stuvi, Gandara, and myself, Kim Miyagishima. Staff present was Damian Martinez, outside counsel, Barbara De Leon, interim assistant city manager, Ifo Pili, city manager, Jennifer Vega Brown, city attorney, Jocelyn Garrison, deputy city attorney, Miguel Dominguez, interim chief, Las Cruces Police Department. The meeting adjourned at 12:14 p.m. And for the record, Las Cruces City Council met in closed session and only discussed those limited items as stated in the posted notice. The purpose of the closed meeting was to discuss pending litigation regarding Antoinette Martinez versus the City of Las Cruces, case number 2-20-CV-00252 GJF/GBW, which is closed pursuant to NMSA 1978, section 10-15-1H, number 7. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem, were you able to find it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It says, Dear Mayor Miyagishima and City Councilors, please accept the following public comment for your November 16, 2020 meeting. Vela Cruces is a nonprofit bicyclist and pedestrian advocacy organization working to transform Las Cruces into a great bicycle and pedestrian community. We applaud the city on its adoption in October 2018 of the Active Transportation Plan. A policy of the plan is to hire an active transportation coordinator, and in parentheses, ATC. Indeed, even before the plan was adopted, the council authorized hiring an ATC. Unfortunately, despite at least 3 attempts, the position remains empty. City staff has indicated their intent to hire several planning positions and spread the ATC duties among planners. At some point in the future, probably more than a year from now, one of the planners would be designated as the ATC. Staff has referred to this as growing our own ATC. We do not agree with this approach and would rather have a single person designated as ATC, even if hired with lower qualifications, and then using the grow our own approach. Not having an ATC is delaying implementation of goals of the Active Transportation Plan. The city has twice been successfully designated a bicycle-friendly community, BFC, by the League of American Bicyclists. However, the designation expired during the spring of 2019, and the city has failed to reapply. Becoming a BFC was a strategic plan goal for city council, and it's unfortunate that this goal was not maintained. It appears that the lack of an ATC is stalling the BFC application. Please consider asking our new city manager to make it a priority to quickly fill the ATC position and evaluate the reasons for the previous failures. Active transportation is important to the overall quality of life in Las Cruces, and additional resources to hire a qualified individual may be needed. We look forward to a positive response and to working with the city to improve safety and active transportation in Las Cruces. Thank you, Vela Cruces Incorporated. Donald Wilson, President; George Pearson, Vice President; Renee Hubert Landrum, Treasurer; Rebecca Creamer, Secretary; Jean Conman, Member at Large; Gabriel Rochelle, Member at Large; Chet Wright, Member at Large.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Was EFO copied on that letter? If he wasn't, can you forward it to him? And
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I did, this is Counselor Flores. I don't think he was copied on that. I did forward it to him and to
oh, you did? Okay,
and
great.
my comments, yes.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you, Counselor Flores.
And you're very
Mayor?
welcome, Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask who sent, what's the name on the email that was sent?
Velcro,
Hello.
or Velo.
That's an organization, it's not a person.
No,
It
it is,
is an organization, but several people signed it, Counselor. Sue.
Oh, okay.
including George Pearson.
Okay, I'll get with EFO on that, or maybe he can look at that and maybe perhaps provide some comments during his part of the meeting towards the end. Okay, so now we're going to go to acceptance of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
can I pull 7.1?
sure.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion in a second?
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
And I think I heard Mayor Pro Tem do the second. So a motion made by Councilor Vasquez, second by Mayor Pro Tem Gondara to approve the agenda with item 7.1 removed for discussion. Christine?
This is on the motion to accept the agenda with the removal of item 7.1 for discussion. Councilor Beta-Stevie?
Oh, I'm sorry, she's out of town. Yeah.
Okay. Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sork?
Yes,
Councilor Flores?
Yes,
Councilor Gondara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to item 7.1, resolution 21-073. I need a motion in a second.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Vasquez, second by Councilor Bencomo. And Councilor, did you have a question or did you want a full presentation on this?
Both.
Okay.
But a presentation would be good. I might answer my questions.
Okay. So I believe we have Sam Billion. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Sam, are you there?
Mayor, this
Oh,
is
Alex.
Chair Alex Liu with purchasing. I will present this item.
Okay.
Let me share my screen. Can everyone see the presentation now?
Yes.
Alrighty, awesome. Again, this is Chair Alex Liu with purchasing section. Today, I'm going to present you the procurement for AXON camera system for the city of Las Cruces Police Department. This is a sole source procurement 20-21-054. The reason for the procurement sole source is, first of all, alternative system only partially meet the city's requirement outlined in LCPD General Order 151 and Senate Bill 8. Secondly, replace the current system, proprietary software, docking stations, cameras, and licenses will lead to duplication of costs to the city. Thirdly, procure a new alternative system will lead to unacceptable delay and potentially compromise the system's safety. With that, the recommended award goes to AXON Enterprise LLC of Scottsdale, Arizona. The total term is for 5 years with annual renewals. This contract can be terminated with 30 calendar days written notice at convenience. The total amount will not be exceed $1,814,474.22 over the course of 5 years plus tax. Some background about this procurement. LCPD initiated the body camera program in 2014. Only some officers are required to use and activate the cameras as noted in General Order 151. Currently, we have 150 camera systems, including backup. This 150 camera system is from 2 older generations versions of AXON body cameras. And with this contract, all the camera system will be upgraded to the AXON body 3 camera systems moving forward. New Mexico legislature passed the Senate Bill 8. It was signed by Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham on July 8, 2020. This Senate Bill 8 requires all law enforcement officers wear camera system when responding to service or interact with the public. As I stated earlier, it is a sole source procurement with AXON Enterprise. The city is currently under contract with them for camera systems. And AXON Enterprise is a sole manufacturer for AXON Body 3 camera, evidence.com, where we can upload other recording safely and securely, and owns Taser International, which is the manufacturer for Taser 7 system. The city attorney recommends the city supply police officers, co-enforcement officers, and animal control officers with these camera systems. And here are your council options, and we'll stand for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Councilor Bencomo, did you have your question?
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you so much, Alex. Alex, you mentioned it was 1.8 million, the contract over the 5 years, right? Not the annual cost.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, it's for 5 years, for total
Okay.
1.8 million.
And then in one of your slides, you said right now not all LCPD officers are required cameras, but with Senate Bill 8, that's why we're doing this contract, right? Because now every single one of them, including animal control and codes, will have one, right? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I had a question though about the in our paperwork there was mention of, I was curious if we could be explained a little bit more about it says the contract will also include 2 standalone virtual reality empathy training units, which include hundreds of scenarios. Virtual reality training allows for realistic learning environment and is effective in use of force and crisis intervention training. I was hoping we could be explained further what those entail.
Sure. I'll defer this question to the end user department and officers that are in charge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Councilor Bencomo, City Council. This is Officer Benavides, Las Cruces Police Department. I'm the administrator for the body camera system. Can you say your question again, please?
Yeah, sure. Can you talk to us more about so this contract includes, it says 2 standalone virtual reality empathy training units. I'd like to know more about that, what that all entails.
Yes, what that is it is a standalone system called the Oculus, which we are lucky enough when we entered when the contract was written, it was for the tasers, which are replacements for all the old equipment we have, but it also comes with this virtual reality training, which puts officers in the shoes of certain population groups. And they are working on a lot of scenarios currently. The one that I tested myself in Scottsdale was as an officer dealing with a person with schizophrenia. And on the other hand, you put on the Oculus headset and you can feel what it is like possibly to have schizophrenia with audio and visual cues, and you're approaching an officer. So it allows officers to experience both sides of it.
Wow.
And the AXON company is working on quite a few of these scenarios to include veterans, PTSD, homelessness, on a lot of other social issues that are currently happening. So we consider this a plus and a bonus, not to add or replace our current training, but to supplement it so officers have another experience.
Wow, thanks so much for that, Officer Benavides. That sounds intense and important. What's the hour required? Like, how how often or how long is this training for officers? And then who gets to do that? Is it all the officers mentioned?
Current plan is, the current plan right now is that when we get this system in place, it will be provided to as a briefing training when available, because of the units, when we can put officers through 2x2 or just depends. But the great part about this is it will not require a lot of training hours, meaning we don't remove a lot of officers from the field to do this training. It can be done before briefing. So the plan is to put all the officers through this training like we do all our other CIT training.
Okay, that's great. It seems like, as we talk about necessary trainings for police officers, I've never heard of this. And I think this is something, I'm glad I pulled this. I'm glad we're talking about it. It's important that the public know. And it immediately caught my eye, empathy training. So I feel like this is, thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you. It's, we've been in a relationship with this company since the year 2014 as one of the first agencies with body cameras. And we pride ourselves in trying to stay ahead of the curve in that aspect. When Senate Bill, 8 came out, we immediately looked at what we had to do to cover the citizens correctly.
Great. And Officer Benavides, just for the record and for public to understand better, what is the current LCPD policy about on body-worn cameras? As of
October 1st, in accordance with Senate Bill 8, we officially changed our policy to record all police interactions with the public. And as the slide mentioned earlier, that includes animal control and codes officers, since they interact with the public and they do have enforcement action.
What happens in the event that an officer does not turn on their camera?
According to our policy, they will be reprimanded up to, and it can include termination or revocation of a certification.
Okay. Thank you so much, Officer Benavides. I appreciate you jumping on and answering my questions. I thought I was going to have another question for Alex, but it has escaped my mind. So if I remember, I can just email. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Officer Benavides. My question is, how many organizations applied for the RFP? And can you name them, Alex?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Mayor Pro Tem. My name is Chenyu Alex Liu with Purchasing Section for the record. This is a sole source procurement. The reason for the sole source is because we already have 150 cameras and systems in place. With this contract, we're going to increase the system to 214. So with this kind of procurement, there's we only consider AXON Enterprise as the potential vendor.
Alex, so are you telling me that there are no other vendors that provide this kind of service that could be of more quality than this particular one in Scottsdale?
Thank you for the questions. Based on the conversation with police department and youth department, I will let Officer Benavides to explain more. The alternative system that in the market right now will only partially meet the requirement from the city that outlined in the LCPD General Order 151 and Senate Bill 8. So, and also based on the procurement code, we do not want to duplicate the cost. So that's why we go with the sole source approach for this procurement.
No, I understand, Alex, but I guess as Officer Benavides indicated, they have a relationship, right, with this particular company since 2014. And so I just want to make sure that it's top of the line, that there aren't others that are better, that if we've had issues in the past, and often we hear about tasers not working, especially in closed sessions, those kinds of things. And I just want to make sure that this is the best, that it's not that we didn't go issuing a sole source because, you know, it's the one that we're doing and the easiest route to get to ensuring that this take place because of Senate Bill 8. I just want to make sure that that this is the best and it's cost effective, obviously, and that we're doing all that we can to ensure that you know, that this company
Okay.
is of quality.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Candida and City Council Officer Benavides for the record. Yes, it is the best. And yes, we have been involved with them for quite a while. However, it's the contract secures a lot of things for the agency. And it is, it might sound biased, but yes, what we have with AXON Enterprise, in my opinion, is the best. We not only are being provided with cameras, well, since this last contract, we were going to have to renew a contract either way in December because the current contract was running out. So this isn't just driven by Senate Bill 8. So that being said, what we have with evidence.com and Axon Enterprises is an evidence management system that encompasses all our video and photo needs right now with unlimited data. And it allows officers with access to this, the DA's office with access to this, and the city attorney and city clerk's office with access to this. So that's a management system. Then we want to speak about the camera system. When we first started the program, they were on a version 1 of a particular camera. And because of the contract that was in place, they replaced those cameras twice. The contract that we're talking about now, they will at the 2.5-year mark replace all the cameras. Much like technology, even in your hands, a cell phone, for instance, I would like to see anyone with a cell phone that's over 2 or 3 years old. That's the same thing with the camera systems. They will replace or happily replace cameras that get older. And then on the last part, the taser portion of this, Axon Enterprises, formerly known as Taser Enterprises, are the only provider of the taser weapon. All our tasers, we have gone through 3 different versions of a taser, and this is their latest taser version, the Taser 7. And the best part about this Taser 7 is it not only replaces equipment that is old and in the field, it turns on body cameras in the area, which is leaps and bounds better than what we have had in the past. And it will replace officers' older tasers in the field, which is first and foremost important.
Yes. Thank you, Officer Benavides. I really appreciate you getting into more detail about the programming. Question is, would the body cameras and taser, mostly the body cameras, would that apply to our police aids?
Yes. Robert Benavides for the record, Councilor Gandara and Council. We not only cover the public safety aids, we cover animal control, and we cover codes. So any law enforcement action that the city of Las Cruces takes, it will be recorded. That includes us helping out on the side of the road with the offender or someone that needs assistance to a regular welfare check. The problem with what we had in the past, we did not have enough cameras to cover the entire agency when this came down, which caused a lot of constraints on the agency, and we were juggling systems. This contract helps put a camera in every person that needs to have a camera, and so we have all those bases covered.
Thank you, Officer Benavides. And then lastly, you have film and video, photos, it's going to meet your needs. How long is the storage for that particular element to the contract?
That is the other part that the contract fulfills, is right now it provides every officer who has a license with unlimited storage. It is done through a secure cloud-based system, and we have access to that system through the portal evidence.com, which is Also, another thing about the current cameras we have is the video cannot be altered by officers or anyone else.
Good. Okay, Officer Benavides, now does that include that when you're processing individuals in the, I don't know what you call them, in the holding cells, or when you take them, from one point A to point B?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, Officer Benavides, for the record, it includes contact from the moment they're dispatched from the call to the point where the end of the call is at the detention facility. Now, with our new policy in place, officers are required to record when they place someone in a police unit, the drive to the police station, the booking and processing, and then all the way back to the jail. Right now, not only do we have our public safety aides with cameras, but our transport officers have cameras. So when an officer does turn over a person to a transport officer, that transport officer is recording from their contact all the way to the jail as well.
Very good. Thank you, Officer Benavides. You've been so helpful. I appreciate all the detail. Thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Officer Benavides. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Christine?
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, yes, Councilor Flores.
Yes, I just put my hand up. Thank you. This question is for Officer Benavides, and thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, for those wonderful, excellent questions. I have a couple of questions, Mr. Benavides. The first is, what kind of a taser is it that is uniquely only, that's redundant, to AXON? It was a taser something?
Yes, Councilor Flores, and City Council Officer Benavides, for the record. What Taser has done, or Axon Enterprises has done, is the same thing with bleach. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you mention bleach, or even facial tissue for that matter? You say Clorox, or you say Kleenex. An electrical weapon, which this is the same thing. When you say Taser, it is only one company, because that is the only company that all law enforcement across the board use, is the Taser gun. The great part about this new Taser system is, yes, they all have different nomenclatures, but this is the Taser 7. Honestly, it's easier to load. It is easier to aim. It will provide less of an opportunity to miss, provide a greater opportunity to effectively apprehend someone without harming them. And also, once a Taser weapon is fired, all the cameras within a certain radius will be turned on. So that's the huge benefit with this. And as we mentioned earlier about the mental health aspect of it, the Taser program is where that virtual reality training comes from. That branch of this company creates the virtual reality training for officers to attend. And since we have been partners, they have always been asking for ideas. And one of the ideas being pushed forward, to let you guys know, is to offer civilians a chance to experience some of this as well, both in the role of the law enforcement officer and in the role of a potential person that we have contact with.
Okay, thank you. Wow. And so my next question is, you said that the video, once the camera goes on, it just records every movement from the time the person is apprehended to the time that person is arrives at the detention center or wherever the destination is. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes, Councilor Flores. But to say that it records every movement, I don't want to throw that out there in the public that it records everything, because we all know a camera is only a point of view system. So to say that it records everything, I really wish there was a system that recorded everything.
Okay. And that was my question, because when you said, what triggered in my mind, when you said that it stays on from the moment you come in contact with that person to the time that person is delivered to the destination.
Yes.
So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, the camera's on this person, or the camera's always on the officer. But if you have someone in the back seat of a police car, it's very difficult to keep the camera on. So my question is, does the camera have a mechanism or something in there that shows that the recording has stopped? It has been turned off and then resumed again? Because
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes, I'm
A
sorry for
situation where,
interrupting.
no, it's quite all right. That's the way we talk. That's wonderful. Thank you. So, yeah, because you don't want a situation where someone will say, well, how do we know that there wasn't a gap? And how do we know what happened between the time the person got in the car and got out of the car? We got in, I mean, unless the guy was not black and blue, bruised before he or she got into the car and then comes out, beat up and bloody and stuff, then maybe you can make that, conjecture. But otherwise, how would you know? So that was my question.
No problem, Councilor Flores, and Council, for the record, Officer Benavides again. To answer it is every camera and taser system, they have an internal clock and audit log. When we share videos or these logs for courts, and I've been asked in many depositions and other proceedings about the authenticity of videos and or taser logs. Every time that camera is turned on, it marks it on the log to include on these cameras a location, as well as when it's shut off. We can monitor these logs, share them, and actually what it provides is basically an evidence sheet for that video. And it shows who accessed to include who viewed them. So when that evidence is put into our system, we can access those logs and see if the chief viewed the video, so to speak. And it could tell me when and where he was at when he viewed a video. To include when a video was shut off or turned on.
Thank you. So to answer Mayor Pro Tem Gandara's question about the quality or this is definitely the state of the art.
Yes, Councilor Flores, this is, everyone else competes with this company, yes, and I apologize to sound biased. However, we have used this system for a very long time, and we have gone through a lot of heartache with other camera systems that we have tried. Since we moved to this system, I can honestly tell you, since I've been in law enforcement here, which is a little close to 18 years, we have probably saved the city quite a bit because we have taken the step to record our actions.
Great. Thank you so much, Officer Benavides, and be well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Okay, well, thank you for that explanation. And if there's nothing further, Christine?
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 21-073. Councilor Beta-Stugi is absent. Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Soar?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gandara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, we go to item 8.1, resolution 21-075. I need a motion and a second, please.
Move to approve. Sorg.
Second, Gandara.
Motion made by Councilor Sorg, second by Mayor Pro Tem. And Natalie Green will make a presentation.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Natalie Green for the record. The resolution before you is approval of action plan amendments to HUD for the allocation of CDBG CV funds. Again, the resolution not only amends our 2019 action plan for HUD, it also will execute an agreement upon HUD's approval and execute a budget adjustment. As council may remember, the city previously received approximately $560,000 from HUD in CDBG CV funds. We awarded 495 of those thousand to some of our nonprofit partners. So there was a dollar amount we had not awarded. And then we were notified in early September by HUD that we could receive an additional $542,242. So we just got just about 1.1 million from HUD in CDBG CV funds. Staff is making the recommendation to award those funds. So that includes the previously unawarded balance and the new money to the New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority for the City of Las Cruces COVID Housing Cost Assistance Program. That program awards up to $1,500 per month for up to a total of 3 months to income eligible households within city limits. Those income eligible households must be below 80% of area median income. They need to demonstrate a financial hardship due to COVID, and they need to be able to provide documentation to demonstrate their delinquency in their housing costs. Again, this resolution would also approve a budget adjustment. That's just for us to recognize the revenue that we'd be getting from HUD and the expenditure out to MFA. And I will stand for any questions.
Okay, so far, doesn't look like any.
I do, Mayor, I'm sorry.
Oh, Mayor Pro Tem?
I don't know, I'm having trouble with my buttons here. Yes, thank you, Natalie, for the presentation. I'm really glad that this is going on, especially, you know, given our situation. Natalie, so you're going to give money to MFA. MFA then will distribute that to folks locally. And I'm assuming that they'll have a process, right? And this process will be similar to many of the programs they already have. There's certain qualifications, they're going to need certain documentation and such, correct?
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Gondeta, again, Natalie Green for the record. Their program manual was included as an attachment to the resolution. So the entire process is there because it is federal funds. It is extremely lengthy. So many of you may be aware that MFA has already contracted with the state to manage their CDBG CV funds. So staff felt that it was in our best interest to comply with both the duplication of benefits and because they have the existing infrastructure to partner with them as well. So it will be replicative of their state program. So again, all that information is in the program manual.
Yes, I'm aware of that. I guess I'm trying to get to a couple of questions that that are concerning in what I've heard overall with some of this application process is because they're asking for certain things like a contract that a lot of people don't have, B, you know, and tax returns and such that someone, for example, who is a dancer doesn't have, or doesn't want to have, I guess, and it becomes an issue. So I guess I want to be clear that, and I'm not sure how Mortgage Finance Authority is working through these limitations, but it seems like it's a pretty consistent issue across the state, Natalie, and I don't want there to be an issue, and I don't know how they're going to deal with that.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Gondeta, the MFA is available. I'll defer to Rebecca here. I want to emphasize that funding, it is federal funding. It is highly monitored.
Hey, Rebecca.
It is highly monitored by HUD, and so it has a very prescribed methodology on how we income qualify clients, and there is no deviation. So if they are requiring specific documentation, it is the program and HUD mandates it.
Okay, let me just say, someone might, if you if you can mute your phones or your computers, because we're getting some sounds like wind feedback, please. It doesn't look like Natalie or Rebecca are outside.
Hi, Mayor Pro Tem. This is Rebecca Velarde. I'm the Director of Policy and Planning with the New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority. Good to see you. So yes, Natalie was right, is correct. Because this is a federal funding source, because it is from one of the most restrictive departments in the federal government, HUD, there are things that we have to comply with. And I can run through with you the requirements that we have to get around. So first, we have to show that they're 80% of area median income or below. We are not asking for tax returns per se. The only time that we would ask for that is if you are self-employed to have your own business and you have to show a decrease in we have to show your income somehow, because otherwise it's very difficult. We are also asking if you don't have like your current year tax returns, if you're a business, we ask you for like a 3-month profit and loss statement because we need some sort of documentation. Other types of income documentation could be the last 3 pay stubs, what your payments on unemployment are, and things like that. We also require hardship documentation, which is required by the CARES Act. We have to show that you've had some type of hardship because of COVID. This could just be that you're on unemployment. So a lot of that is actually a lot easier. And we also require that you have to share with us your lease and your delinquency notice. And those, again, are HUD requirements. We anticipated that this was going to be a problem for a lot of people because this is a lot of documentation and not all of us just keep that in our back pocket. How we've organized this is that when we are reviewing, we have several levels of review. After the first level of review, if somebody is missing documentation, we send them an email, and we also have created a separate follow-up team. So people that aren't even reviewing applications, all their job is to call people, reach out, email, and try to work with them to get the correct documentation. So we are trying to do as much support as we can. Unfortunately, we are not able to change the HUD requirements. One way we are doing a slight shift is, and we couldn't do this with Las Cruces funds, is the state has given us funds, CDBG, a certain percentage of CDBG can be used for urgent need, a small percentage. So the state has allowed us to use a small percentage of their funds for urgent need where we would not need the income qualification documentation, and we're hoping to use that. However, that's, again, a very small percentage of the funds. So again, we're working with people. We are trying. We are within the constraints of HUD, unfortunately.
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I know it's very restrictive. And I guess from a meeting I attended on Friday afternoon with Representative Romero and Rubio, that were some of the details that were being sort of discussed was so many folks don't have leases for whatever reason, right, with the landlords or property owners. And so I don't know, is there something that you think that the city should be doing to communicate with property owners, or, and a lot of them are just folks, right, that like you and I that have a rental and don't know the process. I don't know if there's things that we should be doing to encourage the leases in a paper form, if you will, or contract form, if you will. Know what you're seeing there specifically. My question is, and I know this is different from what you're managing now, but I think we had a considerable amount of folks apply here in Las Cruces for the funding through the state. And if you could just talk, I don't know if you're able to do that, talk about what the pitfall has been and positives and numbers and such.
Yeah. So I don't have the data on Las Cruces specifically because we're being very careful, right? Your city boundaries go like this, and some of the development's in and some of it's out. And so we're actually working with Natalie closely to make sure everybody we use with your funds is actually located within your city limits. I can tell you that the 2-week application period ended on Friday at 5 p.m. and we have about 4,300 fully submitted applications for the entire state. I was doing a little bit of monitoring in terms of, because we are required to monitor by COG area. And for the COG area, the South Central COG that Las Cruces is in, the percentage of the applications that are coming from that COG is almost exactly in line with your percentage of population in terms of the state. So you are getting very close to your share in terms of COG. Again, I haven't broken down in terms of within Las Cruces versus the county versus COG. We'll be working very closely with Natalie to do that, but that is an encouraging sign that we're getting out there.
Okay, thank you. And then Rebecca, can you just share a little bit about what the city to help encourage folks, to get a lease or how to work with property owners, landlords, to ensure that they're following what needs to be, because everybody wants to be paid, right? The rentee wants to be able to stay in their place, and the landlord wants to be able to be paid. So what can we do collectively to encourage folks?
So collectively, I would say that on our website, we've taken great pains to detail what documentation you will need. And I would say that even though we have not announced a second round, there is a pretty good chance there will be a second round, right? Just because of the money that needs to be spent. I would really encourage people to look at that documentation needed and start gathering it. I would bring their landlord in and say, I want to apply for this program because, again, these are not HUD requirements, IRS requirements. I have to get a W-9 from the landlord, right? So just get them involved in the process, start gathering the documentation. We are also talking about providing more training in terms of the online application system if we have before next second round, if we have a second round. So be on the lookout for that and just to prepare. Because again, this documentation sometimes takes a while to get and the 2-week window is short. We had to keep it short, right? Because we didn't want to get into the next month's delinquency. But to start preparing now and to look at our website for all the documentation needs.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Mayor.
I think, Natalie, did you have another question? You had your hand up.
Mr. Mayor, I was just going to share the City of Las Cruces data specific data to the City of Las Cruces because I did calculate that before this meeting. So we have received approximately 422 applicants for city limits. About 300 of those are for rent, 100 of those are for mortgage, and then the rest are either manufactured or mobile homes. So I was just going to share that.
Okay, and I've got one question, Rebecca or Natalie. Who was it? And I think kind of following on what Mayor Pro Tem was talking about, how some people don't actually have a written lease. Now, I don't think in New Mexico it's required. I mean, it's good business to have a lease, but what if the landlord and the tenant would you allow something to go back even if it was 30 days? But more importantly, if they could show a utility bill of some sort to show that they were getting bills there, I mean, yeah, that might be helpful because, I mean, if it's not like they fabricated something, if they have a electric bill, a city bill, and even an insurance bill, something that shows that they live at that residence with that, in addition to a lease, even though the lease is, signed, this month, but it could go back 30 days, 60 days or something. Was that something that you would allow?
And Mayor, so the lease is actually less about confirming residency. It is about that, but it is also confirming the rental amount, right? So that's what we use why HUD likes us to look at the lease too, is because we can eliminate instances of fraud or because we need to confirm how much money we are legally able to pay, and because we cannot go above the lease amount plus 10% for late fees. That's why we need the lease.
Okay, so you would take something that was dated sooner, and then a lot of times if they do pay in cash, I think they still get a receipt from the landlord, paper receipt of some sort. They should get something. I mean, a council check, a paper receipt. I mean, if they don't have a paper receipt from cash, a council check, no lease, no utility bill, I mean, then that's really questionable. But they should have something that I think would work.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Natalie Green for the record. I do want to point out that because of COVID, many of these households have not been paying rent for anywhere from 3 to 6 months, and they have not been able to be evicted. So it is in the best interest of the landlord to assist the tenant to be paid, because they have not been paid. While they're still owed the money, they can't evict their clients to bring new clients on. So I think it's going to be in a very rare instance that you're going to find a landlord who's resistant to being paid when they haven't been paid for 6 months.
Sure. Okay. Just wanted to touch base on the lease part. So.
Mayor,
Okay,
are they able to accept a lease that was just put together, even though they've been in the home for quite a while, months and months? Would Rebecca or Natalie?
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Temp, I'll let Rebecca answer, but I'd also like to emphasize that they have contracted with that outreach team that can go through that process with each individual tenant who's missing documentation and work with them to get the correct documentation that they need to be eligible.
So this is Rebecca Velarde again, Mayor Pro Tem. So just to answer your question, I haven't run into a newly executed lease yet. If I'm thinking it through, if the lease was shown to be in effect before the delinquency notice was issued, I think that would be okay. You know, the problem would be is if they've been delinquent for 6 months and their lease is just signed yesterday. That would be a little bit harder to sell to the federal government when they monitor us.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca.
Okay, thank you. Doesn't look like there's any more questions. So with that, Christine?
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 21-075. Councilor Abeyta-Stuvey is absent. Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gandara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, item 8.2, resolution 21-076.
Move to approve, Councilor Sorg.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilor Sorg, second by Councilor Vasquez. And Leanne Demouche will be presenting.
Well, good afternoon, Mayor, Council. For the record, Leanne Demouche, your Chief Budget Officer. Let me share my screen. Okay, do we have the whole screen up?
Nope.
One of these days, I'm going to get this, Mayor. Let me try. Okay, how about now? Do we have
Yes.
the whole
Yes,
Yay.
it's there.
Okay. Great. Thank you for being patient with me. So Council, Mayor, before you is a proposed budget adjustments for November. As always, there's no new programs or policy initiatives in here. The adjustment is focused on compliance and alignment. There is a slight increase in the general fund, which I'll be showing to you in just a few minutes. What you're going to see in this budget adjustment are quite a few of carryovers. What we're doing in these carryovers is that you're going to hear me talking about bringing the budget to actuals, okay? In other words, we're truing this up. And most, if not all of these, 99% of these are from the capital improvement programs. They're projects that are in the capital improvement, which, as you know, after my presentation, Interim Department Director for Public Works, David Cedillo, will be talking about the amendments to the CIP. And then, of course, because of this true up and because of the bringing budget to actuals, These are just our routine budgetary business, which is best practices. Okay, so let's just jump into our adjustments. As you can see here, hide this, I apologize. Our first adjustment is for the legal department. This is for the neighborhood action team. And what we're doing is we're carrying over. It was not budgeted for the beginning of fiscal year 21. So what we're doing is we're carrying over $50,000 for this fund. And most of the money that's used in what we call the NAT, the Neighborhood Action Team, is for properties that are derelict and they are working on in that program. Also under financial services for general fund, and I apologize, I've got a little bit of a frog, so you'll hear me clearing my throat every once in a while, so I apologize. Under financial services, as you know, we have an auction. This auction, sells equipment and other things that are taken to it. They do make a little bit of money. So what we're doing is we are budgeting the revenue for $2,023, and they want to use this revenue and expenditures towards auction operating for $2,023. For Public Works, you see that we're decreasing their budget in the revenue. The reason for this decrease of $47,000 is most of the work orders that revenue that comes in from work orders for Public Works are typically from your enterprise funds, your internal funds, such as like utilities. I'll use fleet service as an example. When we budgeted for the revenue for these work orders, we're not getting as many work orders, probably maybe a little bit because of COVID as well. So what we're doing is we're truing up the revenue because we have less work orders and work that's going out in those departments right now. In 2650 for Public Works, you see that there is a piece of heavy equipment. We're doing a carryover. We had anticipated that this big piece of equipment, which is a utility crane, by the way, would come in by June the 30th. It did not. It came in actually on October the 30th. And now we need to have this carryover so we can pay for this piece of equipment that's under Public Works. Under 4005, which is our community investment programs, you see that we're doing a budget to actuals for the solar voltaic carryover, which is $173,134. Also for 4005, which is community investment projects, you see that we have several projects that we're requesting a carryover. One, we're increasing the budget, and two, that we are decreasing the budget with a total of $551,276. This is for the Animal Service Center of Mesilla Valley. And for the police evidence building. On the police evidence building, we're not actually changing the budget. What we're doing, as you can see later on down in 4031 on the presentation, you see that the police evidence building, we're decreasing that budget, but we're increasing in 405. The reason that we have to do this is because per our charter, anytime that we move funds between departments or we move funds from one fund to another fund, we have to bring that to council. So it's really a wash, but we need to show it to council. And then, of course, the ITS project is, we're putting budget to actuals for $459,000. For Fund 4031, which is Parks and Recreation, you can see that we have a decrease of $9,317. This is for the median landscaping, and we're just putting budget to actuals and lowering or decreasing that budget. For 4031, it is a total of $208,873. Of course, there are 4 projects in this one. The Municipal Service Center, which is $16,700. Veterans Park parking lot, $32,758. The Amador Hotel, which is an increase of $41,585. And then again, here's your police evidence building of $201,000. Then in 4100 is actually our capital projects for reimbursed grants. This is actually a state appropriation, which goes in this account as well for fire. This was for the radio system for the communications that we brought in for state appropriations. We had anticipated that we would not receive this equipment by June 30th, but it did come in. So we are now lowering the revenue and decreasing the expenditure because that equipment came in and we have paid for it. Now we have also 4100 again, which is our capital project reimbursements grants. These are for public works. As you can see, we have the Amador Hotel, which is a decrease of $28,891. This is for a state appropriation funding. Then we have the MAP Walnut, which is decreasing of $132,064. This is an NMDOT grant, by the way. The FY19 street improvements is an NMDOT for $28,103. The Mesilla Valley Community of Hope is the Mesilla Valley Community of Hope and the Brannigan Cultural Center. Both of these are state appropriations. And then the last one, the Telstar intersection, is a NMDOT, which is $36,537. For 4202 for Public Works, which is our GRT streets maintenance, we're asking to decrease, again, bringing budget to actuals for 3 projects. One is the ATP sidewalk gaps, which is an actual increase of $2,832. The LG Road Fund and the MAPS Walnut. This is the map. This is the match, sorry, to the MAP Walnut above for the 4100. Then under 4227, which is our VAD Phase 1 carryover, as you can see, bringing budget to actuals, again, carryover, we are decreasing this project by $952,967. For 4228, which is under economic development, this is a bond grant that we have, and we are decreasing, of course, budget to actuals again for $67,903. This is for the Zia building out at the airport. Under 4228 for Public Works, we have 2 projects. One is the Alameda Estates, and the other one is the energy efficiency for a total of $702,459. Both of these are also under the 2815 bond as well. Under 4230 for Public Works, we have a decrease of $1.2 million. These are the carryover for the general obligation bonds. As you can see, the 4 questions in here, the park, sports fields, animal shelter, fire station number 3, and the trail improvements. We are, all of these expenses were incurred in FY20, and of course, we are decreasing this budget for FY21. Again, budget to actuals. For 4270, this is TID. This is for parking lot 7 and the bathroom in the parking lot, and we are decreasing their budget by $1,354. Next, we're almost done. Next, we have 4400, which is the flood control money, which is Public Works. This is for $65,262 for the Nevada cooling corridor. And again, budget to actuals on this as well. 6220. What we're doing here is, and I mentioned this earlier, when we, per our charter, when we move funds from one department to another department, we do have to bring that to council, and this is exactly what we're doing. It's remaining in the same fund, but we're decreasing this project under Public Works and increasing it to Parks and Rec, because Parks and Rec will be overseeing the management of the funds and also of the project. Under 4632, under Public Works, this is the Chachiro Road widening. We are decreasing the budget by $39,277. And again, this is a budget to actuals as well. And then last is 7492. This is for HIDA. And what we're doing is budget to actuals as well, but we're adjusting the grant balance to the actuals. And this is for increasing the budget of $18,022.66, and it's for revenue and expenditures. Now I'd like to turn the presentation over to Mr. David Cedillo to give the CIP amendments. David?
Thank you, Leanne. And good afternoon, Mayor and Council. David Cedillo, Public Works Director, and I will be going over those CIP amendments for you. As Leanne mentioned, a lot of these are just making sure that they're being reflected to actuals at this time. So we'll go ahead and begin. First, we have the generator buffer program and the refuse and recycle buffer program. Those budgets were reduced to help increase the budget for the IGA. Now, the remaining projects on this slide are all carryover adjustments, and I'll read them for the record. We have the active transportation plan, sidewalk gaps, the Alameda Estates project, the Amador Hotel, and the Animal Service Center of the Mesilla Valley for the HVAC and roof replacement project. All the projects on this slide here are all carryovers, and again, I'll read through them for the record. We have Court Avenue from North Melendez Street to North Water Street. We have the Energy Efficiency Program, or the IGA project. And then we have the GO bond questions. We have the bond question 1, which is the park and sports field improvements and additions. We have question number 2, which is the new animal shelter facility. And bond question 3 on this slide for the new fire station building, which is fire station number 3. Next, we have question number 4, which is the walking, jogging, biking trail improvements and additions. The remaining projects are also carryover adjustments. We have McPhee Avenue from Valley Drive to First Street. And at this time, I'd like to remind Council, we did have an adjustment a couple of months ago where we had removed some money from McPhee and added it to Van Patten as that one was getting ready to start construction. What we're doing at this time is bringing and replenishing those funds for McPhee. We also have the Municipal Services Center, the Mesilla Valley Community of Hope, our health facility phase 1, and parking lot 7 and bathrooms, which are all carryovers. These are also all carryover adjustments. They include Spruce Avenue, Telshore Boulevard and Travis intersection improvements, the street and flood control improvements, Toshiro Road improvements from Valley Drive to Motel Boulevard, the VAD, which is the Voluntary Assessment District Phase 1, and the City Building Roof Replacement Program. Next, we have the General Facilities Improvement Program, the Pavement Maintenance Program, the Pavement Replacement Program, the Safety, Health, Environmental, and Emergency projects. We have Transportation System Monitorization, which is the ITS, and the Las Cruces Airport ZIA building renovations. All of these are carryover adjustments. We also have the solar energy photovoltaic projects. And the next one, as Leanne had mentioned, this is a change in departments, and this budget is being transferred from Public Works to Parks and Recreation. The following are all carryover adjustments with the median landscaping, the Nevada Avenue Cool Corridor, Veterans Park parking lot, and Brannigan Cultural Center improvements. And lastly, we have a few of these projects that were completed in FY20 and are being removed from the CIP as the amendment. Leanne went over those expenditures for the Walnut resurfacing, that MAP project, which was an NMDOT grant, which showed both the grant and the match. Also, as part of that removal of completion, we also have Fire Station number 2 drive pad that has been removed from the CIP. And with that, both Leanne and I are available for any questions.
All right. Thank you very much, David. And did I hear you not mention the interim?
Yes, sir.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that.
Sure. Okay. No questions? All right. Well, Christine? Hurry before they change their mind. I'm just kidding.
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 21-076. Counselor Abeyta-Stube is absent. Counselor Vasquez?
Yes.
Counselor Bencomo?
Yes.
Counselor Sorg?
Yes.
Counselor Flores?
Yes.
Counselor Gandara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, item 8.3, resolution 21-077. Motion and second, please.
So,
Approve.
Gandara.
Okay, I think I heard a motion by Councilor Vasquez and second by Mayor Pro Tem.
Sure, Mayor, I will second it.
Okay, good. All right, and William Blanchard will be making the presentation.
Good afternoon. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Good afternoon, William Blanchard, Budget Analyst. The resolution before you is to accept 6 new grants, 2 capital outlay appropriations, and to adjust the budget and the CIP. Quality of Life is receiving the American Liberty Association Resilient Communities Fiscal Year 2021 grant in the amount of $1,000. There is no match, and these funds will be used for Thomas Brannigan Memorial Library to host Tierra Sagrada Resilient Communities community programming and to create a climate change resource hub. Community Development is receiving the federal fiscal year 21 Mesilla Valley Metropolitan Planning Organization Federal Highway Administration Year 1 grant in the amount of $270,027. There is a cash match of $46,016 from revenue contributed by the city, Town of Mesilla, and Doñana County, already budgeted in the general fund for a total project amount of $316,043. These funds will be used to implement the Unified Planning Work Program for federal fiscal year 21, and year 1 funding can carry over into year 2. Community Development is also receiving the federal fiscal year 21 Mesilla Valley Metropolitan Planning Organization Federal Transit Administration grant in the amount of $83,374. There's a match of $20,844 from revenue contributed by the city, Town of Mesilla, and Doñana County, already budgeted in the general fund for a total project amount of $104,218. These funds will be used to implement the Transit Planning Work Program for federal fiscal year 21. Quality of Life has received the Smithsonian Women's History Fiscal Year 2021 grant in the amount of $500. There is no match, and these funds will be used to support the museum system to host speakers and educational programming related to the Smithsonian American Women Book and Women's History. HIDA is receiving the High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Fiscal Year 19 Modifications 3 through 6 in the amount of $10,453. There is no match, and these funds will be used to provide an increase in support for the Fugitive Violent Offender Task Force, New Mexico Investigative Support Center, Regional Drug Task Force, and Overdose Response Strategy Initiatives. The Police Department is receiving the New Mexico Department of Transportation Traffic Safety Division Fiscal Year 21 Consolidated Agreement funding in the amount of $128,041. There is no match, and this funding allows the Police Department to conduct the Buckle Up, Click It or Ticket, End DWI, and Selective Traffic Enforcement 100 Days and Nights of Summer initiatives. These next two are capital outlay, and quality of life is receiving state capital outlay of $742,500 for a children's museum. This provides support to plan, design, construct, furnish, and equip a children's museum in Las Cruces. The city will work with Engage New Mexico, a local nonprofit, to develop the plans and to implement the funding. $7,500 of the original funding of $750,000 was held back by the state for art in public places, thereby reducing the amount to implement the project. This grant amends the CIP. Quality of Life is also receiving state capital outlay in the amount of $113,850 for the Transit Maintenance and Operations Facility construction. This will be used to plan, design, construct, furnish, and equip a transit maintenance and operations facility in Las Cruces. This is supplemental funding to the FTA grants to build the facility on Motel Boulevard. $1,150 of the original funding of $115,000 was held back by the state for art in public places, thereby reducing the amount to implement the project. This grant also amends the CIP. And with that, here are your council options. I will stand for questions and have Aaron Sherritt from grants as well as representatives from the departments available to answer your questions.
Thank you, William. Appreciate that presentation. Let's see who has any questions here. Okay, it doesn't look like any. So Christine?
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 21-077. Counselor Abedi-Stuvi is absent. Counselor Vasquez?
Yes.
Counselor Bencomo?
Yes.
Counselor Sorg?
My space bar is not working. Say yes.
Counselor Flores?
Yes.
Counselor Gandara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, now we're going to go to board appointments. Looks like Councilor Flores would like to appoint David Lynch to the El Paseo Corridor Committee. So that's taken care of. Now we'll go to notice proposed ordinances, which we have none. And now we're going to go to City Council member board reports and comment. Basically, I just wanted to tell you that I was talking with Mayor Pro Tem Gandara the other day, and this was before the shutdown. And I was telling her that I was talking to the doctors who would share information with me, and that several of the patients that they've seen were workers who felt ill, but also felt that they had to work because they had no other means of income. And so I told Mayor Pro Tem that I was going to get with our city attorney, Jennifer Vega Brown, to see if under those limited conditions, and granted, I'm sure they would have to meet certain income qualifications, but to whether or not we might be able to provide some assistance to those workers if they felt that they had no other choice, but they had to work, and then possibly could be infecting other employees. So I know Jennifer's working on that, and hopefully she'll have something to us here soon. Not necessarily today, but the second thing is I just want to reach out to those members or those various businesses that the city is looking to do our best to reallocate whatever funding that we might be able to do to help out. I know this is going to be a very difficult time these next 2 weeks. Hopefully it's just 2 weeks. But I'm just going to remind everybody to please wear your mask and be very careful. And anytime you go out anywhere, it's we're almost there. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm sure you all heard that yet another company has has tested their vaccines at 95, almost 95% effectiveness. So just a little bit longer, and I know it's very difficult right now. We're always constantly having to take precautions, but we have to. And I just want to share that with everybody. That's really about it. Unless someone can answer questions on the farmers market, I emailed Tiffany, but I was of the impression that the majority that when if we're going to allow that to open, it's going to be really just for food items. Is that your understanding? So I'll just put that out to members of our staff, at EFO or Barbara. Anyone who deals with the farmers market would be good. Oh, Dr. Martinez.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Criselda Martinez, Economic Development Director. We, at the beginning, when the public health order took place, the farmers market was operating only for produce. As the reopening of the economy and the public health orders changed, we monitor those changes closely. And the last change that we allow the farmers market to apply was based on the evaluation of the public health order. Unfortunately, there is no clear guidelines specific to farmers market, but what we applied was the same criteria that retail had. Although retail outdoors is a safer practice, we're currently evaluating based on that last evaluation how the changes from Friday will apply to their operation. And we will provide a recommendation to city manager for then communicate that to farmers market. So we are currently in that process, Mayor.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And as you know, Councilor Beta Stubbe was not with us today. She had a doctor's appointment. And so she asked me if I would read her comments. So I'm going to go ahead and read those. So it says, District 2 Councilor update. She has first one here is preventive healthcare reminder. Even during a pandemic, it's important not to lose sight on our physical and mental well-being. Try not to miss scheduled preventive appointments that could make the difference in your long-term health. Today, I'm absent for exactly that reason. I look forward to catching up quickly on today's items. Community schools update. Congratulations to Amanda Barella, who will be joining us as the new director of community schools. Amanda has been an active member and champion of the community schools and brings valuable insight and expertise. As we move towards the legislative session, I would encourage us as a council to adopt a resolution affirming the necessity of the community schools and the need to keep them fully funded. Thank you to the residents who attended the District 2 meetings last week. I also want to thank staff, including our Economic Development Department, Public Works, Police and Fire Services, and of course, the wonderful Constituent Services Group, Jamie, Carla, and Ceci. A special thank you to Amy Evans, Ryan Tafoya, and Wyatt Karchner from NMDOT, who provided an update on the I-25 and University construction. I'm excited to watch the continued progress on this enormous project with our city's thoroughfare. Be safe, be well, Tessa Abeta Stubbe. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Ganda.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to encourage people to wear their masks. If you're convening as a family, you should probably wear your mask. A lot of tracers are finding that that's where the spread is. It has really hit home for me. I've had a good friend and a colleague and her family members test positive and very sick with COVID. And so, as you all know, my daughter is a doctor at University of Colorado, and she's very concerned with the statistics and people testing positive. We are even past our surge in July all across the nation, but specifically here in the city of Las Cruces. And honestly, Mayor, for me and Council, this isn't a Democrat, Republican. So many folks have politicized this. And for me, it's very clear. It's about the safety and well-being of our constituency. I have hosted Thanksgiving for years here at my house, and I've canceled that. And I know that our Thanksgiving and our Christmas isn't going to be the same, and we just can't. I'm not willing to risk my family's lives, just to convene for the sake of convening. And so I want to encourage folks to please wear their masks, don't gather, to reach out to me and to others if there are specific needs in your family. Mayor, I have at least received 2 or 3 calls on young families. The adults are medical personnel or first responders, and their kids are in kindergarten or high school and literally flunking their schooling. They just don't have people in their household, right, that can help navigate during the day when classes are being done virtually. And so I know that during this 2-week lockdown, I'm not sure that Parks and Rec is still managing our tutoring services and what that was looking like, if it was happening both virtually and in person. But I think we really need to get back to the table about how we're going to help our families with small children or just children in the home that are unable to get their needs met educationally. I'd really like to also put a special plug in for developing mentoring programs. I was excited to hear that a partnership with our communication department and the Las Cruces Public Schools with a campaign, reaching out to kids in your neighborhoods or just kids that you know. I can't express how important I think this is. So many of our kids have mental health issues. Our adults have mental health issues. Our kids completing suicide and or just contemplating suicide has increased twofold. I just think we have to think creatively how we're going to manage this moving forward, especially during these winter months. And so also want an update, Mayor, on the funding that we've received related to childcare assistance. I'm wanting to see how that's been utilized and how, what a positive influence or not, what gaps might be existing as it relates to the childcare funding that we have allocated specific to our COVID response. Also, Mayor, I've been hearing a considerable amount from my constituency related to illegal dumping, especially in our alleyways next to the alley off of Juniper, both north and south. Some that are a bit, they're bridging up against the housing authority in that alleyway. I mean, it's incredible the amount of trash that's back there. I've noticed the signs that now the city has placed. It's been a while, but they've placed that they're no longer managing or monitoring that. And I want to go back and advocate and understand why. I know I wasn't alerted to that. I just saw the signs, but it's really affecting those alleyways. People are just dumping in there trash bags, whatever, couches, old stuff. And I just don't think that that's a great way to, dump out. I don't know what we need to do move to the city managing those alleyways again. And with that, Mayor, I'll turn that back to you. Thank you.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, let me just ask you a question. Just kind of take your thoughts about this. So years ago, not necessarily the city, but maybe even the authority, the solid waste authority, would, depending on the magnitude of trash and if it looked like it came from one particular, let's say a pickup truck dumped, 10 bags and the bags were all the same, and they could actually look in some of those bags and determine who it came from, or how do you feel about that? Was that something you would support? If they could trace that bag, that garbage, because sometimes it has papers in there, it has their names in there, they didn't shred it, and it looked like it could have possibly come from there. How do you feel about if Codes was to do that and at least inquire and just say, hey, you have any idea how your trash ended up in this alley? 10 bags full.
I guess I haven't really thought of that. I'm not sure how agreeable I would be to that, but what I do know is that folks are dumping in there in those areas, and I've noticed considerably more has happened since city doesn't manage those alleyways anymore for whatever reason. I guess I'm asking, why is that? Why in my area are you not managing those alleyways anymore? And who decided that and why? Is it because you don't have funding or personnel to be able to do that when for decades that alleyway was being managed? And so again, I'm happy to meet with Parks and Rec to put together a program, a day of a weekend of cleanup. I've done it before. I don't know, Mayor, if that's going to deter folks, getting Codes to look in their bags of trash to determine who might be dumping. But, you hear a lot about the county's illegal dumping program. I don't hear too much about it from the city's perspective. I don't know what kind of programming that we have, or if we're working in coordination with our illegal dumping program with the county. But I know that it's happening more regularly, and we really need to put a stop to it. So.
Well, okay. But again, I think that would be helpful in putting a stop to it, because even if we were maintaining the alleyways, I don't think it's right that people just say, hey, you know what, I'm just going to throw it here. It bugs me. It's in the back of my truck. Let me just dump it here. That's not right. I think if we've got that consensus, we just tell EFO, hey, have Codes go. We're talking about, because let's just say hypothetically, you can tell when I'm not talking about like one bag. I'm talking, some significant stuff. Sure. They can, if all of a sudden you see 10 bags and they're all, I don't know, white. Not white. Blue green. All the other, and all the others are just regular white or black, and these are just some really interesting looking color bags. They probably came from the same person, and I could see someone, one bag, but 10 bags or something. And if they could find that, and that gets out, that we're going to start going after them. And if we'll get with the city attorney's office and just see what type of ordinance we have, and if we can prove that they actually did that, let's find them.
Sure. I appreciate that, Mayor. And then just lastly, over in the alleyway next to Melendrez, and I'll get a little more detail. There's some illegal intravenous drug use, a lot of syringes out there. I'd really love to see that cleaned up. I've had at least 2 calls from constituents in that area with concerns about that, and maybe it means speaking to the Department of Health to get some drop boxes out there. Obviously, it's happening in the wee morning hours, but it's just a sign of our times, right? Where you're seeing a lot more drug use, intravenous drug use, but the syringes, and I just want to alert people not to be picking them up. It's very dangerous. To be at one time law enforcement, you could call them and they have the boxes with them so that they could dispose of it properly, collect and dispose of it properly. So I just know that we're seeing a lot more of those kinds of things because of COVID. And I'm just discouraging people, the public, to pick that up on their own, that there is probably a proper way to dispose of it. So, yeah, I think you're right, Mayor. If we're seeing consistent, where bags and bags of the same kinds of things are being dropped off, certainly, I think if we can deter that in any way, that's probably one way to do it. Thank you, Mayor.
Sure. Let me ask our new Public Works Director a question. Hey, so David, does the city still have a contract with Southern Correctional Facility to use their minimum, their trustee program to help clean up certain areas of the city? We pay them, I don't know, $1 or $2 an hour. I can't remember what it is, but do you know if we still have those contracts?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. David Cedillo. Yes, we still have those agreements in place, but due to COVID, those workforces have not been available to come out and perform those services. But yes, that is definitely something that we can look at as an option to help curb some of these situations. But yes, due to COVID, they haven't been allowing them out in public.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, good. And again, congratulations. Very proud of you. I'm looking for great things there in your department. So. Okay. Mm-hmm. Councilor Flores.
Well, I just have my question first, Mr. Mayor. So did David Cedillo, is he the director now of Public Works?
Yeah, he was the interim, and
yes.
So between this Monday and 2 Mondays ago, he must have got a promotion.
Okay, I guess I missed the email, but congratulations, David. I'm really happy that you're in that position. It's wonderful. So thank you. You've always been very responsive and very professional and spot on in resolving issues. And I appreciate that. My constituents appreciate that too. So thank you, David, and congratulations. Mr. Mayor, the only thing I would like to address right now is the study, the think tank of Think New Mexico, headed by, Fred Nathan, the director, I believe, or CEO or something. I guess I'm a member or whatever, contribute. So I think some of us received that email. It was an email, and there was also the most recent publication that I've read, which is probably a month or two old because I just received another one, I think. But it's about addressing the issue of high, payday loans type of thing and the high interest rates. And I know that Senator Souls and I don't know if Steve Fishman was still a senator when it all really started. I think he was, because he continued to be a firm advocate of reducing, and there was some success. I mean, some of these, I remember slowing down an ad to read the small print, and it was amazing because most of us will not get a loan over a certain amount. You just don't. But some of this was like 400% or something that was so amazingly unreal. And anyway, and an example of these payday loans, right now the interest rate, they did bring down the rates. I know that Senator Souls was still not happy, and neither was Steve Fishman. But right now, I think it's at 39%, which is still very high. And I think the article said that, I believe, if I recall correctly, that a $400 loan, by the time it's paid back, you've paid $1,100 for it, or $700 for a $400 loan. So it's really usury, and I just don't understand how these payday loans get around the usury laws. So anyway, I would like for our city to support the think tank, Think New Mexico, their approach to it. And I already emailed you and Mr. Peely about that. But that's really, especially now with COVID, I'm sure there's so many people out there hawking their homes, or their cars probably more than anything, and losing everything they've got. So that's all I want to say, Mr. Mayor, and also to echo, I think all of us, to echo what Councilor Councilor Abeyta-Stube and Mayor Pro Tem Gandara said, and you too, Mayor, about taking this COVID really seriously. And yeah, and I have to say, I've been very fortunate to have traveled during this time. I've had to travel during this time, and airports and whatnot. The cautionary measures that are being taken are very stringent. But I mean, just wearing that mask and keeping my hands clean and not being in a big crowd, especially around youth. For some reason, the younger generation, they think they just can come right up and stand next to you. And the minute that happens, it's like I repel, kind of like two ends of a magnet, just like, or two magnetic ends of a piece of metal. And so I think I know I probably has to work because I've been out there, stay home as much as possible, but washing your hands and you know what else is really, really good? Really good. Just gargling, gargling with hot water, gargling with lemon juice, fresh lemon juice, gargling with a little bit of antiseptic type of mouth rinse. I don't want to use a name. I don't want to in any way violate any kind of whatever. But yeah, so I think that we're at a point where it's almost like you think someone's out to get us. Something happened where they want the poor people to die. They want the old people to die. They want the people who are less enfranchised, not just voting rights, but just total no say so in how the fates of our lives are determined. So I too want to very much stress to stay home as much as possible. Wash your hands, and wear that mask, and social distancing, of course. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and. Thank you.
So you got a problem with Listerine, I guess, huh?
You see that Listerine and Kleenex is kind of like, they're really corporate names, but they're so common. They're used as if they were the generic. But yes, it was Listerine. Thank you. And really, it's better than anything else. Thank you.
All right, Councilor Sword.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just add my encouragement to wear masks this holiday season when you're out and about. And I also wanted to point out we have a Ready for Primetime video that our PIO has produced with a cast of 7. Looking forward to seeing that spread out all over the media, and it should help a little bit. Let me just mention a couple of organizations here. The Utilities Department is now has been, I should say, and will continue to talk about water use, our future of water use, and ideas for a 10-year action plan. Some of the just general ideas that have been thrown about as to what we might want to do is have direct reuse of wastewater, clean to drinking standards, of course, and then stormwater use has been talked about, as well as coordinating with the state engineer's office for 2 deep aquifer permits already submitted for use of brackish water in the Jornada del Muerto. And then near the Foothills landfill, there is a less effective on the river system than existing other permits. I'm not even sure what that's about, but that was on the list. Transfer surface water rights to wells, into wells for offsets, coordinating with the State Engineer's Office, Elephant Butte Irrigation District. The Elephant Butte Irrigation District may adjust the service area to maintain the 90,640 acres they farm. Working with other nearby water systems to develop water authority. And then benefiting other water systems, working together does not bring the wet water into the system, but sharing, I guess. Work with the legislature to limit growth of high-use crops. It's talked about, and very controversial, of course. Working with other water suppliers and states to bring water into the Rio Grande from states with excess water. Agricultural land and taking it out of production. Just throwing these things out. And limited growth of the city service area outside the current water rights and offsets. These are just some of the things that are tossed about. One thing that wasn't so much talked about is the conservation of the water we use already. But that is going to be part of it too. And then also the Metropolitan Ponding Organization has a subcommittee I'm on for the joint, the JPA between the city, the MPO and Mesilla, the town of Mesilla and the county. We are working on that. We're getting those items ironed out. Okay, that's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councilor. Looks like you got new glasses, huh? I can't hear you. You're on mute.
I cleaned them up.
Oh, you cleaned them. Okay, well,
They look new because they're clean.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks. Councilor Bencomo.
Thank you, Mayor. And yes, thanks to all of you for your comments, wishing Councilor Betas to be the best, and hopefully she returns safely home. I do have a couple comments I want to make, but I wanted to circle back with some of the comments that Councilor Flores made. I would also be very interested in supporting some sort of, I'm curious about Las Cruces' ability to pass policy regarding payday lenders. Not in terms of interest rates, that's definitely, I know that's down up to us, but in terms of where they can set up, right? You never see payday lenders off, Roadrunner or Sonoma Ranch Boulevard. You see them in Mesquite and off El Paseo and in Anthony, and they're very predatory. And I think for a long time they have been. And for families that were already vulnerable, I think COVID is going to extend their economic recovery even longer because of predatory loans like this. And so I don't know what our jurisdiction or ability is to look at something like that in terms of, where allowing those kind of businesses to pop up in our communities. But I definitely support us looking into that, Mr. Mayor. So if there's any possibility, I second it. And then I guess I just really quickly, I think I also I would support something like what Mayor Pro Tem Gandara is saying and what you were saying. I would perhaps suggest that instead of a fine, or perhaps an alternative, you either pay a fine or you do 8 hours of volunteer service cleaning up in a particular area in the community. So that we're not necessarily criminalizing people, or if people can't afford to pay, causing additional problems. The alternative would be, well, then you get to clean up trash for, 4 hours or 60, whatever the amount would be. I would advise us against using cheap prison labor. I'm just ethically very against that. I saw The recent news from El Paso that they're using incarcerated men to move those who've died from COVID for $2 an hour. People who are incarcerated are not disposable. Like, these are people who are there, sure, because they made mistakes, but at the end of the day, prison's supposed to be rehabilitation, right? People are not disposable. But that I just wanted to make that note. I did want to add that the utility at our utilities board meeting last week, we I hope Delilah is on. I think she'll explain this better, but the utility assistance fund has been fully dispersed. So I think there's 81,000 available from the COVID funding that council put towards the utilities. I know that now we have the moratorium on utility shutoffs because it's winter, but I think we need to look at ensuring that the LCU has more money to help those who are not able to pay their utilities bill currently. Let's see. I would also like to, Mayor Pro Tem, I don't know if you were talking about actual alleyways or EBID ditches behind some of these homes, but I would like to bring in EBID for a joint work session in terms of how those ditches behind a lot of homes get cleaned up. I get a lot of calls about this, like, part of my ditch got cleaned, but part of it didn't. And I think it's about who's taking responsibility, whether it's the city or EBID. And I would like to understand that better. So I would love to see a joint work session. And then I think lastly, I just have some questions around COVID-19 and I really commend the governor for doing this. I know this reset is tough. I know she's going to get a ton of backlash, but I think her and the governor of Michigan are really at the front of the pack and ensuring that that the safety of their people comes first. And so really want to thank her for what she's doing. I know that it's incredibly tough right now. I read something just this morning about the science will save us from COVID-19, but first we have to save ourselves. And I thought that was pretty extraordinary, given that, yes, there is hope now that we have these two companies saying that there is a vaccine soon, but that's not coming for months, right? Perhaps half a year. Who knows after that what kind of resources we'll need to ensure that everybody gets a vaccine. But in the meantime, it's about individual will, right? And protecting each other and really stepping up for each other and in the best ways that we know how. Mayor, I would love to know if LCPD have issued any citations regarding masks. And then if not, I'd also like to put forward a couple additional suggestions for Las Cruces, given the realities of our county and how significantly more at risk our county is than the rest of the state.
Okay, so let me answer just a few of these, and then I'll ask Chief Dominguez if he can give us some update. On the payday lenders, I'm sure Jennifer took note of what you asked, but I think it's going to be very difficult to regulate where they go. And I can tell you, years ago, the city did that with adult-oriented business, and we lost in federal court. What was negotiated is the federal judge basically said, "Okay, I don't want to see you guys in court anymore, and you have to allow them." And that's why they are way over there off of Amador and where the FedEx is, over where the Bronx is supposed to be.
They're in District 4.
Okay, and that was what was negotiated, that area. But I really don't think we're going to have a opportunity for the payday lenders, but you never know. But I've been every time that it's come up for the legislature to be able to require them not to limit their interest rate, I'm there. I don't support what they do. As far as the prison labor, This is what I've been told because we had to have it investigated, that these are trustees. These are people who are going to be released within 4 to 6 months. They were all misdemeanor. They were never felons. And it was volunteer, and they all jumped at the opportunity because they just want to get out. They want sunshine. They want some exercise. They'd rather be anywhere than at prison. So I just want you to know that it's voluntary, and there's like a waiting list, and these are people who've been were arrested for check cashing or certain things that weren't nonviolent. I'm not condoning that. The EBID, a lot of times, years ago, the city entered into agreement with EBID to take over the responsibility of certain walk areas that primarily when we were putting through walking paths through the city, we noticed EBID, of course, had those. And so I think those were the ones that were responsible for it, and then others, we don't. But it's still good, and I'm sure we'll try to get something put together, meeting with them on that. And then now I'll just turn it over to Chief Dominguez if he'd like to comment about the citations. I'm not aware of any that they don't tell me. So.
Thanks, Mayor.
Sorry, Mayor and Council. I see Deputy Chief Brock on. Just want to inform you, Chief Dominguez is out today, and Deputy Chief Brock is in his place, but we're not aware of any data. I guess we could take a look at it. Deputy Chief Brock, do you have anything?
So, yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Manager, we're still promoting our initial approach to the calls and complaints that we receive of education, asking for voluntary compliance with the mask order. We have a PPE inventory here at the police department where we have several thousand masks that we're able to issue out to the public. So we ask for their voluntary compliance, and enforcement's always kind of the last thing that we want to do. I have asked my supervisors on patrol to report any citations to me. They have not reported those to me, any enforcement action that they've taken, but we have responded to several calls in regards to people not wearing masks at different businesses or other locations. And we've continued to use the same approach, and people comply and are cooperative. We provide extra masks to them if they need them for their family members or others that they may be with. Some of the more recent complaints we've had are gatherings at parks or things like that, and we've responded to those locations, breaking up the groups more than mask violations. But we'll see what this week brings with the new governor's orders, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, DP Brock. I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right? Like citations should absolutely be the absolute last sort of resort. I guess I brought that up because I was just reading over the weekend about the sheriff's department, right, which isn't us, but I was just sort of wondering if similarities were happening at LCPD as well. So I appreciate that. Mr. Mayor, I would definitely like to see a strategy in terms of, for the next 2 weeks, enforcement at big box stores. I think that's where people tend to congregate heavily. And, I don't want to get to the point where we were a few months ago, where I had people who work at Lowe's calling me saying they're like, our manager's not taking it seriously. Like we had to, at several times that happened, right? And so I want to make sure that we don't get to that point that we're like, being proactive about some of those big box stores that can remain open because they provide an essential business, but then aren't taking the public health order seriously.
I think that might fall under Chief Enriquez. I think the couple weeks ago when we had our work session, we were asking that the fire department, to go make sure that different stores were at a certain percentage of their maximum limit. And so I think that becomes especially more important now with the lockdown. So Chief Enriquez, were you all doing that, or was that still codes?
Mayor, this is Ifo while Chief is jumping on. Oh, there he is. I was just going to say Chief Enriquez is following up on that, but I'll let him speak for himself here.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Pilian. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, you are correct. We've had numerous calls throughout the COVID-19, the pandemic, from all the regulations and changes. We've worked with codes to make sure that the occupancy, especially now, it's going to be very difficult that it went to 25% or 75%. So we are going to see a big, I would say, a dilemma with the big boxes. Sam's, Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, but we will continue to work with the store owners. We will follow up and do the best we can to mitigate and keep everybody safe. One of the biggest concerns is that they create lines outside, for the people to come in, and that's where they congregate, and we want to make sure that they're at least 6 feet apart, and we can work with them on different solutions to see if maybe there's a way of having things done online now. They're using a lot more technology, that maybe there's some scheduled appointments or things like that we can work on. But we'll continuously follow up on these and try to make it as safe as possible.
Thanks, Chief. Hey, Jennifer, let me ask you a question. If these stores that the Chief is talking about, they're backing up at Lowe's or Home Depot and such, if we were to advertise all the other hardware stores in the city, all of them, and not selectively, would that be something that we could do? Put on our website, put out public service announcements as just saying, these are other stores that aren't, some of these other big box stores may be experiencing long lines because of their capacity, but encourage you to look at these other alternatives. Is that something we could do if we cover everybody?
Mayor and Council, we could do that with some limitations, and I can talk to the city manager about that offline. We could probably do that as long as we are promoting something that obviously supports the health and safety of the community. So we could probably feature COVID safe practices, businesses who are utilizing COVID safe practices and things like that. But there's probably several things that we can do. So yes, I will. I can talk about that.
Because that would be a great opportunity for the small mom and pop stores to get more business, because these other ones are so busy and they're waiting out line. I don't know, if anyone has never gone to Hayden's Hardware, they got everything in the world over there. So and going there.
And I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Jennifer and Chief Enriquez. I hear the frustration of the smaller local owned stores, right, that have to shut down, that have to decrease their workforce to zero, and these big box stores stay open because they provide essential service. But then there's no follow-up in terms of when they break the public health order, right? So I think it's important that we really encourage and push on them to be more responsible, for sure. And then lastly, Mayor, I think I really, the other sort of complaint I heard was around, which I was really surprised that churches are still allowed to operate at 25%, which I find that really concerning. I think you can definitely pray from home. Virtual services were being used. I know several priests who were tested positive. So I would love to, if not encourage, perhaps stronger language for churches to close down service for the next 2 weeks. And again, I say that because, I'm excited, not excited, excited is the wrong word, but I think the governor's new model in terms of county by county strategy, I think is the right strategy. Unfortunately for Doña Ana, I think that will continue to be at, one of the highest at-risk counties. So what I think it's incumbent upon us to really do as much as we can locally to try to decrease that spread. And unfortunately, I think church service might be contributing to that. So if you have any suggestions or what we could do there, or Jennifer, you as well, I think it's important. But those were all of my comments. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Oh, and congrats to David City, of course.
All right, Councilor Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to my colleagues. I don't have too much new to report, but do just want to agree and echo the comments of my colleagues about taking the proper precautions and making sure that folks are, I think, also talking to their family members and, you know, their immediate household members and their friends about taking this seriously. You know, obviously this virus spreads so easily. You know, I know a lot of us have been personally impacted, and the absence of a national strategy, I think, has really hurt us, and part of the reason we're here today. But am thankful for the governor's orders and us having some local control and caring enough to enforce this. I have also continued to receive reports. It's about people in gas stations and things like that without masks on, that you know, they're not enforced by the employees. And so I'm sure a lot of folks aren't going to call 911 for that or call police for that, but compliance with those types of stores that are going to stay open, I think, is really important, as Councilor Bencomo alluded to. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I do support also the restrictions on the payday lenders. I know we've talked about this in the past, and I think El Paso had a model in which they limited interest rates within municipal limits. I don't think we can do that in New Mexico, but it's interesting because I think most of the payday lenders ended up going out of the city and setting up shop in the county, and they would actually take people to do the loan applications in the city and then drive them all the way out to the county so they could sign a contract. Which, if you got to do something like that, it's so shady that I think it just, you know, represents, I think, the type of profits a lot of these folks make and how they just ruin the credit and oftentimes put people in poverty, in a really deeper state of poverty that we don't want and we don't need in Las Cruces. And so I also support doing what we can. I think maybe some of the things I've heard that we can do is just limit the proximity of how many payday lenders you can have on one block, or, you know, within a certain area of the city, how many of these types of businesses can exist through a zoning ordinance or something similar like that. So maybe that's a possibility, because you're right about them all being strategically placed, right? The liquor stores and the payday lenders and the tax advance places, they're all right next to each other for a reason. So there's that. And then the other thing I'm excited about is we did talk more about fleshing out our plastic bag ordinance in our sustainability committee. And so I think we will have a work session here in the next couple of months to talk about some of the parameters that committee and some of our community members participated in. I think we're thinking obviously about not implementing this until we're in a better place COVID-wise, but we want to have it kind of ready to go because we have been talking about it for a while. And so hopefully that in the future reduces some of the plastic trash that we see a lot throughout the city, and do it in a fair and a just way for people. Other than that, I think we're having also our exit audit conference for the South Central Solid Waste Authority this week. Last year, I think we were dinged for not having a board member present at that particular audit conference, and so I know I'll be part of it this week, but just a heads up in case other folks on the committee can make it so that we don't get that finding again. But Patrick Peck, the director there, did reach out personally to make sure that didn't happen again. So I'm thankful for that. With that, I think that's it for me. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Now we're going to go to, I read Councilor Beta-Stubbe's report. Now we're going to go to the City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. First, I just need to apologize for not sending that email sooner about David Cedillo and his new promotion. I apologize. Email was coming, just finalizing some things, but congratulate him, and yes, it's well deserved.
So this was breaking news then, huh? When he did that, because you could tell he was a little hesitant, but he just said, "Well, what the heck? I'm just going to say it."
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, but yeah, I apologize for that. I do have notes on some of the things that were brought up, and we'll definitely follow through with those things. There are just a couple of these things that were brought up that I have updates on that I just want to share. So I think it was Mayor Pro Tem Gandara that asked for an update on the child care assistance funding. Ms. Green just forwarded me a letter from Community Action Agency of Southern New Mexico. I think that's the agency that received the funding. I think it was $75,000. They informed us that there was not a single request for assistance. And so their request in this letter was to repurpose those funds for funeral assistance. And so we can have further discussion on that, but that just wanted to pass along that update that they haven't had any requests on that. The other thing I got an update on, and we'll talk further about this, but just the alleyways. I believe, Mayor Pro Tem, that there was a particular alleyway that we discussed. I think it was on Juniper that our parks responded to, but that one is not maintained by the city because that's under the corridor, and so that's not city owned. But we'll go through. David Cedillo mentioned that he'll send me a list of all those that are city maintained or city owned versus private or non-city properties. But we'll discuss that. But just want to let you know we do maintain alleyways that are owned by the city. I think that one in particular is not owned by the city.
People, we used to maintain it though. That just changed. Okay. So I don't know why now, but it definitely is posing an issue.
Yes. We'll definitely follow up, Mayor Pro Tem. We'll follow up. We might just have to have discussions on why and just do it. Just move forward on it. So that's just updates. I just, aside from that, I just wanted to limit my report to our COVID response as well. We did receive marching orders from our last special work session on COVID, and just wanted to report back on some of the things that we've done with staff. First, in light of the governor's health order, we've read through and feel that the city has responded appropriately to that, the new public health order, closing all our indoor and outdoor recreation facilities, and as an essential entity, limiting our capacity, our facilities to 25%, and accommodating for all remote work where possible. We also instituted temperature checks for public and employees. And again, we've also closed our facilities. We instituted temperature checks at the library as well, while trying to maintain the service levels. I think we've been here before at the peak of this, and so it wasn't very difficult reverting back to some of these, but I feel like we've responded in step with the governor. And I think including enforcement, I don't, like Deputy Chief Brock mentioned, I don't really have the data on the citation, but I sure have a couple of emails coming down on our police department for citing them. So I don't know if they misinterpreted it. Maybe they received strong warnings, but we'll certainly get the data on that. There were a few concerns from the special work session or some marching orders. The main one was overcapacity in our hospitals and making sure that we had a plan in place in light of El Paso and their numbers. And so there were a lot of discussion on that overcapacity. We've since found that our hospitals are at a manageable capacity right now. The biggest concern is staffing, as many of you know. That's really where and that's a national concern. Just staffing levels, maintaining the staff motivation, and all those things that come with that. But we were pleased to know that our capacity levels are at a manageable level right now. El Paso, one of the concerns, I know you remember that we were concerned that they were going to be sending patients here, but we found that they do not do that or aren't doing that, and they're sending it in state, and it has to, they have to go through some approvals in order to do that, and they've chosen to send Texas patients within Texas and other areas, and so we're not receiving any of that overflow, which is comforting for us. Also, there's a COVID to Home program that Chief Enriquez and Lynn Gallagher with Quality of Life been working with the county that I believe is going to launch this week on a program that allows for hospital or hotel stays for that overflow monitoring. There's also working with the local hospitals, local hotels. I think electronic electronic caregiver is a part of that. So the home telehealth programming that will allow for overflow when even immediately, so that those that don't necessarily need to be in the hospital but can't necessarily go home and still need to be monitored will have a place. And the county has asked for funding on that, a match with them, 50-50 match. And apparently the council has approved previously money for hotel stays that we can use. So we have funding. We can use that money for this match with the county, and so that program can move forward. The other concern was making sure we work effectively with OEM. So OEM with communication. I know Chief has sent me a report from OEM that they're going to send out 3 times a week that shows the capacity in our hospitals, identifies cases that are specific to our city and county, along with the MAC reports that he started to send. We also had marching orders to get masks sent out to the public through our utility bills, and that's in the works right now. We've received costs for the mail run. It's going to be about $39,000 for that mail run, and just getting the cost for the mask itself. But we'll be shipping masks directly through Postal Pros to stuff in our envelopes, so those will be going out. We talked about businesses receiving masks as well. The Economic Development Board, along with the Economic Recovery Board, is bringing something forward that will provide masks to local businesses. And then also we had our recent Mask Up event. I believe 1,500 masks were given. I have a meeting scheduled with OEM, myself, to visit the facility as well. I think Councilor Beta-Stuvi has been invited as well to come with me, and we'll have a couple of meetings to discuss some of the issues that we had in that special work session. But I believe communication is flowing well. I attribute that to, like I said, to staff, to Chief, and Lynn working with the county as well. Let's see. I think that's all as far as reporting back, Mayor and Council, with our COVID response. We'll continue to monitor City Hall and our facilities as well, making sure that we take lead. If we're going to ask everyone in the community to do this and be in step, I recognize it starts from us, and I feel like we've responded appropriately here at City Hall. There was a concern that we've been on the watch list, and I've called the governor's office, talked to a couple of people in the governor's office, and left a couple of messages myself expressing our concern with that. When we report our positive responses, we're being all lumped in together at City Hall. And so it's inevitable that we're going to be on that watch list. And I just wanted to express that concern so that the picture is painted appropriately. But at the same time with that, wanted to make sure that we are doing everything in our power. I know that's the sentiments of the council and as well as staff, that doing everything in our power to make sure that we're following protocols and enforcing and walking in step with the state health order. So sorry for the lengthy report, but just wanted to report back on this. I know we had a special work session. We had some marching orders and just wanted to let you all know where we were. Thank you.
Thank you, Ifo. It looks like Mayor Pro Tem has a question to ask you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ifo, for the update. I have just a couple of our response in my mind has been amazing as a city. We've given over $3 million, but we still have folks that are not aware of that, right? And so we got to find a way to deliver the information specifically in the areas that that we have funded. So when I hear things like there have been no requests for childcare and want to move the funding to funeral expenses, I think about, I haven't seen a graphic out there that the city has put together saying this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. Because maybe if we advertised, that we have this funding and why, for what reason, we might get that. I'm also not opposed to giving additional funding for funeral expenses. It's just the reality, unfortunately, and it saddens me deeply that a lot of our low income and just people the unexpected of a funeral expense, right? And so I think we should look at that and fund that appropriately. But I also know that there's a lot of folks that need to pay for childcare that don't have the ability to do so. And so I want to encourage our community, our communication, and each of the directors that are to work with developing graphics suitable, right? So that we push that out on our social media platforms. And then lastly, I appreciate receiving those MAC reports, and I know it's a form filled and it doesn't happen specifically from Chief Enriquez, but again, I'm finding things out on our social media, like the mobile morgues that are being set up at our hospitals, and I don't want to have to find out in that way. I hearing you say that, our hospitals aren't at capacity, they're reasonable, but then there's that, right? And it's like counterintuitive to me. And so I still feel there's a lot of information that's being shared, or maybe it's not, and it doesn't fit, I guess, the criteria of some of these reports. And so my expectation is that we know as much as we can. And I would agree, and we've talked about it, Ifo, you and I, about communication, right? Free flowing from all these areas that are working together. Thank you, Mayor.
Looks like Councilor Bencomo has a question, Ifo.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And thanks for your report, Ifo. I had also brought up funeral cost a few months ago, and in terms of were we able to cover some of that? I think, unfortunately, dying is kind of expensive, and it's pretty terrible. I remember that when I brought that up, that Mr. Sherratt had said that the CARES funding from the state did allow for some of that. So I want to make sure that if that is a need, that we're listening to our community-based organizations, to our partners, and if they're saying this is a need, that we help with that. Mayor Pro Tem, I also know that in relation to childcare, a couple things changed, right? I think the income level was increased to allow more families to be able to afford it. And then I think also a lot of families aren't feeling safe sending their kids to childcare, right? So but I agree with you, if we don't have to move that fund and ensure that we're advertising it better and people know about it, and in addition to think about a special fund for funeral costs, I would really like to urge us to do that, because that seems like, unfortunately, is becoming a bigger need for people in this moment.
Okay, I thought you were going to talk just a little bit longer. I was going to look up something, but IFO, and this is going to be really directed at Dr. Martinez. I don't know if she knows this answer or not. I haven't had a chance to check it out. I was just going to right now. I was told by a CPA that the Internal Revenue Service has recently put a credit for business owners through their 941, which is a quarterly tax. You have to pay it every quarter, or some have to pay it every month or whatever. The city probably has to pay it every day, or whenever they pay payroll, they've got to be done every day. So anyway, so the IRS has now said that if a employer has an employee who has COVID and is sick, they will provide them up to 2 weeks of basically a benefit. So basically the business owner would pay the employee and then gets to take that exact amount off their 941, which is dollar for dollar. That's pretty good. So if that's the case, if you could have economic development verify that, and I wonder if that would be definitely worth to send to our business owners that are registered, that have a business license, to let them know about it. That's huge, because basically what that does, it just gives the employee 2 weeks paid leave if they're sick, and they don't have to worry about going in while they're ill. And it looks like Dr. Martinez has her hand up. Dr. Martinez?
Yes, Mayor, council members, Griselda Martinez for the record. Mayor, I hadn't heard about this. But what we'll do is we'll further research, and if that is the case, we'll definitely make it a point to promote it. We're actually going to have a Zoom meeting on Friday with a number of our partners, business service providers. And if this is the case, thank you for bringing this to our attention. We will definitely promote it then and via email, and as we contact businesses for other purposes as well.
Okay, thank you. And IFO, I'll get with you this week on some ideas and will involve the city attorney, because obviously it's going to require that. But this next round is going to be really difficult for our residents, and so we need to look at pull out all stops that we can use for if the qualifying event is certain income levels and below, then we need to make as much as we can available. And I mean, I'm talking $2-3 more million additional probably. So we'll take a look at it, and we're going to have to contact our NGOs that we've already have partnerships with to see if they might be able to help us facilitate these residents having to go through them to get their assistance. It's going to be really difficult, really hard. So, okay. Well, if there's nothing further, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, motion made by Councilor Sorg.
Second, Gandara.
And second by Mayor Pro Tem Gandara. And Christine, call the vote, please.
This is on the motion to adjourn the regular meeting. Councilor Beta-Stuvi is absent. Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gandara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, we're adjourned. It's 3:37 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.